Hello, YouTube.
Good. And we also are going live on LinkedIn. Takes a couple of seconds. Excellent. So we're both live on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. Ladies and gentlemen, super excited for this one. Just for your background, I know Jan for probably 4 to 5 years now. We've been starting to do podcasts and all sorts of different marketing activities together with MathWorks. So I'm super excited to kick off this series for Agentic AI or AI in general with MathWorks and have a very special guest, Jan de Brij, who joined us today. And today, as I said, it's already about Agentic AI, but what specifically? There's a lot of stuff when we talk about Agentic AI, specifically about Model Context Protocol, short MCP servers. And this is basically a kickoff for a series, a hopefully long series, where we talk about AI and how you can use AI inside of the MathWorks suite. So without further ado, Jan, feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Jousef. As MATLAB is starting on my laptop, as you might see my screen, I'll introduce myself shortly. It's a pleasure to work with you, Jousef. We've known each other for a while. I've been with the company, the MATLAB company, we call it MathWorks, for 5 years now. And before joining the company, I was in the space of open source scientific computing. Lately, I've been doing a lot around AI, and that's my current position right now as part of the MATLAB product team, is focusing on topics related to AI. It contains different meaning of AI and different generations of AI. It goes all the way from machine learning, deep learning, to more recently generative AI and agentic AI. And that's going to be the topic of today. We're going to be speaking about agentic AI. We're going to be focusing on the model context protocol. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, what I will be doing, I will be monitoring different screens on one laptop, so I might be looking a little bit crazy here and there. So I'll be checking all the comments from you guys on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube, and then we have some discussions during the session, Jan. So feel free to
Okay,
kick it off.
perfect. So today I'd like to focus on a new technology called the Model Context Protocol. Short is MCP, and it's essentially a protocol that enables to connect um, agents with tools. So it's something we've recently embraced at MathWorks. We released the MATLAB MCP Core Server um, on the 31st of October. I can share with you the link of the release of the server. Let me just pop it here on my screen. So this here is the communication that you can find on our blog, the AI blog for MATLAB, and you'll find it probably in your further communication. You can probably just Google. I don't know if Google is still a thing, but ask ChatGPT or Google, whatever you prefer, to find the MATLAB blogs. And this one is covering a little bit around directly the repo. So this is essentially where you'll find the code for what we'll be demonstrating today. You can download it, and I'll go probably through a quick demo on how to install it yourself. The code is over here. There's a whole bunch of setup. And there's a bit of explanation over here as to what this is and why you should care. So maybe, Jousef, maybe I say a few words about MCP before we start and demo things. How does that sound?
I think it's a very good idea because I believe there is so much misconceptions about MCP. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just introduce the concept itself.
Yeah, and also I think it has a particular meaning for us at MathWorks because what we do is we develop tools. So it is something that we really welcomed, this universal approach to connect different agents and AI chat applications, as you can see on the left, to different sorts of tools. And it's coming from so first a practical issue, which is something you in the audience might have already encountered. It's the copy paste issue of like you go to ChatGPT or Claude or your favorite chat or agent, and you ask it for some code, some problem that you want to be solving with MATLAB. So it generates the code, but then you need to copy paste it into your MATLAB session. So like you have your MATLAB session that is like this, okay, and then you're gonna go and ask ChatGPT something like, I don't know, create a linear regression in MATLAB. So it's gonna go and generate the code for you, and once, yeah, you can take a look at it. Seems okay, seems decent, pretty fit. I'm just gonna copy it and paste it in ChatGPT. So that's what probably a lot of you are familiar with. That's the old way, I would say, of doing things. And there's numbers of limitations with this. The first one is that, well, if you do this, then you won't be able to notice. I mean, you will be able to notice as a human if there's an error, but then you'll need to copy the error, and then you'll need to pass it back into the chat, and you'll need to iterate. And that's, I think, the first motivation for Agentic, is the ability to recover from errors in the code. So I'm going to be focusing today mostly on Agentic for coding. There are other applications of Agentic AI, but our focus today is more around coding, and more specifically around coding with MATLAB. What's your take, Jousef, on the whole MCP thing? You may have seen some other tools or agents supporting this technology.
I think engineers will hugely benefit from this. I think it started with Anthropic announcing MCP, so I think not a lot of people are aware what it's actually capable of. So with this with the kickoff of this year, I think it's super beneficial for especially the engineers following us, or obviously also other people from software engineering, to understand what it's useful for and what tools we can connect, especially to the MathWorks suite.
Yeah. So the reason for, I think some people might ask themselves, why is there a standard protocol for this? Why not simply plug in, each of the tools to each of the agents? And the thing that you encounter quite quickly is that there is a combination of like M number of chat and agent application clients, and N number of apps that you might want to be connecting. So you have a large combination of possibilities, and that's the reason why Anthropic decided that they would want to, instead of just doing it directly inside of Claude, because they develop Claude, they have great solutions around AI agents and LLMs that are very good and very popular for coding. But then they figured it's best for us to develop an ecosystem. And the best solution for us to do that is to implement a standard. And even though it's been piloted by Anthropic, the developers of Claude, it has already picked up quite significantly. And you'll see later today, we will also see how we can use it from within VS Code. That's probably going to be the main client that I'll be using, the main host application for demoing those types of things. So that's on the client side. And then they've decided to use this client-server architecture for several reasons. One, they can, so here, connect to different tools as servers. And we'll see in a minute what it means. So just the file system is one server that enables you to take actions on the user's behalf on your machine. So reading and writing text from files and folders. You can also do that with remote servers like GitHub. So you also are one of the first MCP server that got on the marketplace was the GitHub server, and it's a way for you to just check, what's on my latest GitHub repos. Do I have issues? Do I have people that made a pull request? And so it's a convenient new way for you to use services as well. And it's also the reason why I think this client-server architecture was adopted, so that it's not only local to your machine, but it can also be servers and services that are on the internet, over the wire, in a network, and so on. So that's the I think some of the the lingo for all of this client-server architecture for a protocol that standardizes communication between agents and tools, and I'll show you why MATLAB as a MCP core server now and what it is. Is it clear for you, Jousef? And do you want to add anything to that?
Beautifully explained. I'm looking at the questions, Jan. So yeah.
Yeah, if you have questions, don't hesitate to throw them in. I think we might go quickly into a demo pretty soon as to what it is and what it does, because nothing is better than just seeing it in action.
Absolutely. This would be my next question. Like, what demos did you prepare for today? I'm excited.
Yeah. So typically the way I proceed is I start by using Claude. And the reason why I start with Claude Desktop as one of the clients, so here it is. I'm going to fire up my Claude Desktop. It's a simple chat, so it's not very overwhelming as at first. Essentially, it's a good way to approach the topic of MCP, because then this way you just you ask a question and then you expect that it would just do what you want it to do. So here it's starting in the background a session of MATLAB. So I'll have two sessions of MATLAB. I'll close this one in a minute, but this one is connected to Claude, and then I have another one connected to VS Code. So I'll start with Claude for basic things, and then you'll see that at some point I'll kind of like evolve out of a chat interface, and I'll want something that is closer to a development environment. So that's why I'm going to start with Claude. So here, what I'm going to do is let's just first check what are the tools that I have available, and you can see it here in this small config button, search and tools. So I have web search enabled. File system is the primary tool that Claude Desktop installs automatically. When you download Claude Desktop on your machine, you're going to have this file system MCP or tools. And here I've installed another one, and you can see that it has different tools with it, 5 tools. And we're going to go through each of them one by one. But first, what I want to do is just do the same thing that I did before, create a linear regression in MATLAB. And here, what's going to happen is that it's going to draft an artifact. So sometimes it does this. Claude has this notion of artifact, which is a kind of nice canvas on the right that enables Claude to write the code and to give you a nice and decent way of rendering it with syntax highlighting and so on. But now I actually want to run it. So run it. And it's going to think about, OK, what does it mean? Like, what do you want me to do? And then it's going to figure out, well, you know what, actually, I do have access to the file system. So one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to write this down to the temp directory. And I'm going to allow it once. And I just want to make sure that I have access to the temp directory. We'll see if it works properly. Sometimes, yeah, you can see that there are restriction in terms of which directory it has access to. And that's intentional, right? Like this type of mistake here is something that is meant to protect you. You don't want an agent to write anything anywhere on your machine. So there are ways for you to set up in the configuration the locations of where you can read and write files. So this time it found another location to write the file in my downloads repository. And that's because I gave access to Claude to only my downloads. So that's the only place where I feel confident that Claude can write. So here you go. You have yourself a nice linear regression that was executed with this tool. And you can see the little m over here. It's a MATLAB running the file, the linear regression.m file. And the nice thing is that it gets the response, right? So here you have MATLAB that has here executed this file. And you can see that all of the workspace is populated with the results. So it has indeed communicated and interacted with MATLAB. it plotted the results, and it gave me back what the command window was printing, so that I can here see it as a nice rendered conversation answer. So that's demo number one. Any questions so far, Jousef? And is it clear what's happening on the screen?
Pretty clear. No questions so far. I'll keep you posted.
So what I like to do is kind of iterate directly into something a little more, a little more difficult. So let me create a MATLAB app that performs a linear regression on the history on the weather. I'm just going to be quite vague and see what it gives me. And that's typically one of the first prompts that I do. It's creating an app. And here you can see that it's using the syntax that we have in MATLAB to create app programmatically, the framework called UI figure. So it knows how to write all of the components, the UI label, the drop-down, the button, the panel for the results and so on, the axis for the plots. There's an export button, it's data storage. So it's kind of nice, like it's doing all of this for me. And this is something you can also do directly in MATLAB, right? That is, we have all of the capabilities for you to do that, but here it's pretty fast, right? It's blazing fast. So I don't need to go and think about, okay, how am I going to layer the thing? And apps is something that is like interactive GUI is something that I think engineers are okay to delegate to a certain degree to an agent, because that's not necessarily the core of their work, right? It's like they want to focus on the algorithm, and then if there is a tool that can simply run it, then it's going to well, simply do it for us. And here I could have said just create and run the app. Here again, as you can see, it's asking me if I'm okay to write it down to the file system. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say always hello. And be careful when you do this, right? That's one of the gotcha of agentic AI. You kind of want to make sure that the AI doesn't do something that you don't want on your machine. So that's the part where you want to make sure that you have it under control and you just use it responsibly. So I'm going to allow it always for this. But it's because I already...
One question, Jan, maybe, sorry to interrupt. I think for someone in the chat, it was not clear. Did you start MATLAB already, or how does it work? Like, do you need to install something? I think you mentioned it in the beginning. Like, what do we have to do in order to make this work with Claude?
So that's perfect. I'm gonna oh, and there is an issue here with the grid layout apparently, and that's the reason why it's kind of nice, because then now it's going to be editing the file, and it's going to iterate. So in a minute, once we have this app figured out, I'll show you how. So here is a new version of the app. Yeah, the grid layout wasn't working for the plot. So as you can see, this is before and this is after. So it was able to catch it and correct the course. So you may wonder, like, that's magic. Like, how come that suddenly Claude has access to my MATLAB, and what happened? So in this case, it's Claude driving MATLAB. And I'll show you how you can set up your MATLAB MCP server inside of Claude Desktop so that you can connect to a local installation of MATLAB. So I'm going to generate a sample, and I'm going to perform a regression. And here we go. It's a pretty decent app. What do you think, Jousef?
I think it looks really good. Honestly, if I think back, I was doing an internship and starting to get comfortable with the UI, like the UI features of MATLAB. But it took me probably almost 2 weeks to have a decent UI. And this is just a massive accelerator. This is really crazy.
Yeah, honestly, the part about developing apps is one of the things that I'm most excited about when doing Agentic, because it's a part that it's quite tedious, right? Like you have to grind through like a lot of code in order to get something that works, and that's just not necessarily the part that you prefer. So here it has an error. I'm just going to clean the console, and I'm going to go and answer the question, which is, how do I get all of this working? On the left-hand side, I have Claude. On the right-hand side, I have MATLAB. And essentially what you need to do is go in your settings here, and you're going to go to developer. And here you have the local MCP servers. So with Claude Desktop, you can only use local servers on the free tier. If you want to have remote servers, then I think it's in the extension panel. You can go and browse extensions and so on. But for this, you're going to need to pay a subscription. And there's a limitation in terms of number of conversations and tokens that can be covered in the free tier. So we might reach the limitation pretty soon. So I'll jump into my next tool in a moment. But before, I want to show you here the file system tool, that the MCP server that enables you to read and write to the disk. As you can see, I've only enabled the downloads folder as the location that is safe for Claude to access. It's not going to be able to access anything else on my machine. And this one is the other one. It's the MATLAB MCP Core Server. So for you to essentially enable this, all you need to do is here, you go and edit the config. There is a config.json file. And here it's going to open up inside of my VS Code. OK. And all you need to do here in the list of MCP servers, you add a new entry. OK. And you give it a command, which is simply the location of the executable that can be found on your machine. So that's it. That's all you need to do is you go, and I'm going to actually demonstrate. Is that okay, Jousef, if I show the installation process, just the download and everything right now?
Absolutely. I think we can even make a little bit longer if we run over time. There's, I think, one interesting question, Jan, that we maybe can cover. Is it capable of understanding Simulink model contents yet, or understanding the project code base? That's a good one.
So that's a good one. And we have a bunch of projects going on at MathWorks to make AI understand MATLAB and Simulink better. This is a quite high-level interface that enables you to integrate MATLAB as an overall tool, and you see like the limits and conditions of what the tools can do with your existing copilots and agents. But for better and deeper understanding of MATLAB and Simulink, we have specific tools that we are currently developing. So one is MATLAB Copilot, and MATLAB Copilot has a deeper integration directly inside of MATLAB. So it is probably a preferred solution if you want to be staying inside of MATLAB and not having to deal with all of those external tools. And there is another one that is coming up beginning of next year in the 26A release. That will be Simulink Copilot. And for this, you'll have a much better way of essentially grasping the context of MATLAB and Simulink, because it's all about context, right? The term model context protocol is trying to get the right element of context into the conversation with the AI. But there are some things that are specific to Simulink, for instance, like the block diagrams, that are difficult to parse from an outside tool. So for the Simulink aspect, it's more, it handles it more as a black box. Like if you were, like the way I think about it is, I'm not a Simulink person. So sometimes I'm working with a colleague that is doing Simulink, and I call a Simulink model from MATLAB from outside. So that would be the equivalent in terms of an analogy of how you can think about those tools and how they can interact with Simulink, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Before you go to the installation process, one probably critical question, because I've used Gemini 3 and created this CFD app. Maybe you've seen it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And people were always saying, well, it's just regurgitating code from GitHub. Why is it even useful, right? I mean, they have a point, but also not, in the sense that, first of all, you're much quicker, but then how much does it actually leverage public code?
So I think this is more of a question about AI and LLMs, their ability to extrapolate beyond their training set. I think I wouldn't dismiss the ability of Gemini and Google and DeepMind in general to have models that are able to be creative and create things that are not necessarily directly seen in the code base. On your scenario, it might be that there are a lot of examples online of how to create a small solver for like an airfoil and like the aerodynamics around it. So okay, maybe there are some things to say about the fact that it has probably it's heavily inspired by the code that it has seen online. But I've seen also Google being able to invent new drugs with AlphaFold, which is leveraging some of the same models that Google DeepMind is developing. So honestly, I would not dismiss the ability for AI to create something new. So I don't know. I don't think there is a definitive answer to that, but I don't know how you feel, Jousef, about those types of questions.
Usually when I prompt or vibe code, sometimes I see really repositories that I know for years that are being reused, for example, for code blocks. But honestly, I personally don't care because I'm just trying to prototype faster and be quicker. So from my personal point of view, I really don't care myself. But if people care, then fine, then write it from scratch. So
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's pulling from not copyrighted content, and that's mostly what GitHub Copilot does, or lots of those copilots or code assistant do is that they take from open source code as a training set, and that's completely legit. If you were to do that as a human, no one would criticize you, right? Like if you're following the terms of the license, Jousef, and you go and you look up something online and copy paste, which I'm assuming that's just like the way I used to do it. Just looking up on Stack Overflow, which is like licensing wise, I don't actually know what it actually means, but like you look up on a GitHub repo and you're like, oh, I'm going to just inspire like greatly from this very cool existing code base. That's okay if you're a human. So why is it not okay if it's an AI doing it?
yeah, you have a point. That's true.
Um, so how about we actually, so we can switch to the installation, but let's maybe do that in VS Code. Because the process of installing in VS Code, there is a little GUI that enables you to create and generate this file over here. And so the result will be the same. You can find also in the blog post some explanation as to how you can get started. So there's a bunch of examples here around Claude Desktop, around Gemini CLI, and a bit of installation also on Mac. I'm on a Windows machine, and I suggest that maybe we take it from the beginning of how, when you go and look up this repo, what are the steps for you to get started on your machine? How does that sound?
Sounds good. Let's go.
Okay, so here you can go and read the whole thing, or you can be like me and just go and search for the download, which is here on release. And you have different versions of the binaries. One for Windows, 64-bit. Here, the executable. I'm simply going to download this, okay? And here, what I'll do is I'm going to keep it for now inside of my downloads folder. Obviously, if you want to do something like this for you, for your config, for your global config, you probably would want to put it somewhere else on your machine, on a location where you store all of your apps. But for this demo, it's okay for me to do just that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close this MATLAB because I don't need this one anymore. And I'm going to close Claude Desktop. And I'm going to be focusing now on VS Code. So this is Visual Studio Code. For those of you who don't use it, it's a pretty convenient development environment for any language, including MATLAB. We have a MATLAB extension for VS Code that we released. You can find it here in the extension panel. I have it installed somewhere here, MATLAB. So it's a very nice way for you to leverage your preferred development in a programming language inside of an environment that is very lightweight. And if you do MATLAB and Python, that's also an environment that I quite like to use to do multilingual because it supports multiple languages very nicely. So here you can see that there is a MATLAB MCP server installed over here. but I'm going to go through the process. And the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you have the latest version of VS Code. So you may want to check for updates. There are no updates available for me because I did the update earlier, but make sure that you have the latest one because this evolves quite quickly and the capabilities that I'm going to show you are decently recent. So you want to make sure that you have here a little chat on the top right that you can toggle over here. I'm going to start a new chat, and this panel that starts on the right has a little drop down here on the bottom left of the chat input, and you want to go to agent mode, because if you are by default in an ask mode, just like a chat, then it's not going to give you access to the little tools that you can see on here when I switch to agent. So here you have the ability to configure tools, and that is typically the way I add new MCP servers. So here, if you click on configure tools, it might not show up as big on your machine. So you may not see here the one on the button. You might need to scroll down or maybe fold the built-in tools. So here I have small logos for MCP. You can see the little MCP logo with an M, a C, and a P, kind of like all folded together. And I have the MATLAB MCP Core Server that is here with the 5 tools that we'll be using in this session. You can go on the top here and add a new MCP server. Okay, and here it's going to prompt you a few options. The first one is asking you which type of server this is. And as I mentioned earlier, this one is a local server. So it's going to use the command standard input-output, stdio, to run the commands locally on your machine. There are other types of servers that we may be covering in another series of this, in another webinar with you, Jousef, if you want, around a remote server. And we do have a remote server. We communicated about it. I'll let the audience find it online. For the MATLAB production server, that is a remote offering that can then connect over the wire through HTTP. It's kind of nice, but it's not the subject of today. So I'm going to select the MATLAB Core Server here, local option. And here, what I simply need to do is go to select my download, OK, and the name of the executable. So that's it. I'm going to give it a name, my MATLAB MCP server. Let's remove the number, enter. And here I have an option to either set it globally or only local to my workspace, to the project that I'm working on inside of this folder. I'm going to do just workspace because I already have one set up globally. And this one I'll just delete after this session. But it's going to do the same, which is creating, again, this mcp.json file. So this file that shows you, hey, look at that. You have a MATLAB running. So it means that if it starts, it boots a new MATLAB on your machine, it means that it found MATLAB and that the connection through the MCP Core Server is working. So congrats. You have a server running here. If I click on that, you can see the logs on the button, and you can see that it has 5 tools. So, OK, it's all working. You can stop it, restart it, and so on. It's inside of this mcp.json tool. OK, and I'm going to look at it side by side. It's initializing MATLAB. And what I kind of like to do here is put this here. I'm just going to close what's not necessary. I'm going to close the Explorer, and I'm going to go full screen with the chat on the VS Code side. So now what I can do is, well, create a linear regression in MATLAB and run it. I just want to make sure that it's also going to be running it. So in this case, it's using the auto mode. So it's going to pick whatever model is deemed to be best for this type of task. It's likely going to be either GPT-5 or maybe Claude Sonnet 4.5. It's creating a file, linear regression.m, and it's asking me if I want to enable the running of this file. So first, I'm just going to check real quick that the file seems good, which it is. So I'm going to allow it once for now to run this file. And you'll see here on the right, the file is over here. It's going to appear all of the elements in the workspace. And I have a window that is appearing with a linear regression. Perfect. So I have all of the values that have been evaluated inside of my MATLAB, and we have a nice linear regression.
Well, that sounds great, Jan. The question is, what else can we do with it in terms of engineering applications?
Yeah, let's spice it up a little more. So what ideas do you have, Jousef? I shared a bunch with you last night, but which one is of interest to you?
I think if you do something with the PDE toolbox, that would be cool.
Okay. Let's do something thermal. That's, I think, the first domain that I'd like for us to be able to cover. I'm going to do, what would be the right expression of it? Just like the diffusion of temperature inside of a stab or whatever, like a piece of metal.
You can do that. Prompt it like that, then we see what comes out.
Create an app that performs thermal diffusion in a piece of metal with a hole in it. Add parameter on the left-hand side, left panel, for the diameter of the hole and the boundary conditions, stuff like that, the source, the temperature of the source.
Temperature of this, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean,
let's give it a try. We'll see. I'm just going with the vibe. Yes, that's what the new kids say.
no pun intended.
No. Well, it's interesting. First off, I kind of forgot to say that it should be using MATLAB, but it picked it up from the context. And that's one of the elements that is of interest here is when you're using a copilot inside of a development environment like VS Code, then it's going to know, what code you have inside of your project. So it can just take a look at it and figure out, okay, I kind of want to be using MATLAB for that because it seems that's what the project is doing. So here, boom, it's creating a class def. It's subclassing from this matlab.apps.app base, which seems very decent to me. I'm going to now allow it for the duration of the session to run MATLAB files because it's only local to my project. I don't have anything that is sensitive in there. So I'm feeling confident granting it the permission to run code, and I'm going to keep on monitoring it. So it's fine. It's just like the autopilot from Tesla, right?
It's pretty cool. Like, I find it really crazy. Like, I've been experimenting with like Gemini and other tools before, and especially Claude. And I feel like if we would have had this in engineering class, I would have saved so much time writing MATLAB code from scratch, especially for user interfaces. By the way, Jan, maybe a question in between. How do you think the skill set of engineers will have to change in the future when they use agentic tools? Like, will there be less? There should be less of a software engineer, but more like a vibe coder, or how do you see that? Foresee that for the future?
So this is the trick question. The analogy that I often take is I used to be very much in video games when I was younger, and it was like on Nintendo 64 with GoldenEye, like very good games, like very legendary games, but very basic at the time. And then I picked it up again like after college, and I was like, oh my god, this space has evolved so much. And it's actually in all direction because you have on the one end, like if you are into shooters like Call of Duty, you have very advanced games that are for the gamers. But then you also have on the other end of the spectrum, like my mom or my sister that are just playing on Candy Crush on their phone. So that's the illustration that I take to explain that for me, it is a hyper growth domain where it's not a zero sum game. If you think about one is going to take the other, I think you're wrong here. I think my model is that it's going to grow across the spectrum. And there is a very, very large spectrum of capabilities when it comes to coding. And that I think is what's happening right now is I believe there is more space for coding, a lot more space for coding. People that are saying that there will be less coder, I don't think they are correct, honestly. I wouldn't bet against coding today. Now, because the thing is, you kind of need to verify here what's happening. So you kind of need to have an understanding of what is an app and what is a grid layout and so on. So it's better for you to kind of know the thing. So it won't replace this expertise. It's going to significantly improve the onboarding, the getting started, for the new users, the newcomers. They have such an amazing opportunity. If I were young today, oh, sorry, it sounds like I'm old already, but if I were younger, like I'd be like, oh my God, I'd be going out of college. I'd be like, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to there's so many things that I could be doing with those tools. It's insane. Like this, it's a new age, and I'm very enthusiastic for the people that are coming out of schools right now. Some of it is a little scary, but don't don't give in to fear. Like I think it's more like enthusiasm, optimism. That's my spirit. Now, obviously there are limits, right? I don't want to be completely naive and dismissing the fact that there are going to be significant transformation of the workforce, and some jobs are going to evolve and some job might disappear. So it's going to be a kind of a transformation. Now, I do 100% believe in engineering. That has been my whole career, and I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer at heart. So that's what I studied. And I feel like there is still, and maybe even more need for this type of domain expertise. Because then, well, okay, it's nice. You created a nice temperature diffusion for me. If you cannot interpret what it is, I'm like, it's not very useful. So, and I guess that's probably what the people are saying about your little JavaScript app with the TFD around an airfoil. It's like, oh, that's not true. It's not in Fortran, right? It's not true science.
Exactly.
It's in JavaScript. It's not true code. Well, okay, but I mean, there is some element of it that might be correct in the sense that I don't know how numerics is done in JavaScript. I don't know JavaScript really well. I don't actually like it so much. I feel like that's the type of stuff that I want to be vibe coding. But it's hard. Like JavaScript is also very hard. So I don't know. That'd be my response. What's your take, Jousef, on all of this?
I mean, especially academics, I sometimes feel offended because you can vibe code something they spent their whole PhD thesis on.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be mad about it, but honestly, it makes things so much easier and makes it also very attractive for engineers to prototype something quickly. Of course, when you go, for example, to Lovable and prototype something, the spiel of like having a proper backend is a whole different story, right? Security, backend, etc., etc. But I think vibe coding an app like this just to test something or validate something, I think it's pretty straightforward.
I think it's kind of neat. And yeah, that was the one example that I took first. Maybe we can do it in a moment. Is like your small damping system, just a very simple dynamic system with a mass spring, and just having like a similar type of an app. What I kind of like about, so this is like one way to go about it. You just functionally describe it. But what I did last time is, if you have the website, the URL handy, what I did is just take a print screen of it. I was like, just do it for me, and it's kind of nice as well because sometimes you can draw like whatever you want it to do, and then it's gonna infer with the multi-model capabilities of the model to kind of infer the position roughly of the components, the what you want it to do. So it's just such a game changer in terms of productivity. So I don't think dismissing it is the right attitude. You got to be careful. You want to be putting guidelines in places, and that is the one part where we are typically, as a company, we are more cautious when it comes to this, because security, you cannot you cannot not take into account security. So security is a must. Like you need to make sure that when you do those things, that they are secure. They are not going to be representing risk. And so that's the part where, as a company, we are very cautious. So that's why for now, this is something that is outside of MATLAB, and we are slowly learning how to bring more agentic capabilities into MATLAB with MATLAB Copilot. But there is a spectrum of different capabilities around AI and a journey for everyone around AI. So I want to emphasize the fact that this is very like bleeding edge. This is very much for the early adopters. And I think I identify myself as such, even though it took me like about a year to get up to speed with MCP, right? Like that came out last November of 2024. And now we have this conversation here. This is moving so fast. So I think we want to respect that everyone is at a different stage in their journey with regard to AI. Some people are a little cautious, and you got to respect that. And that's why we have different approaches and different solutions for different people. Because as a company, we support very important engineered systems like automotive and aerospace. So this is something that where security and safety is, it's you have to take it into account. It's super important.
Absolutely. So I think what we've built right here with the diffusion simulation looks pretty great. Obviously, we can optimize it before people cry again in the chat. Obviously, you can optimize this by just iterating on the prompt, right? So.
Yeah. Yes, of course. And maybe one thing that I like to do is also show you some of the capabilities around like just pure simple productivity stuff. So one thing that I'll do here is I'm going to create a README because create a README and organize the repo with different folders for each apps. Okay, so I'm going to do that because then you'll see that I can post it on GitHub. I can even add tests to it if you want to go into like more software development workflows such as testing. It is not something that I typically do. I don't test my code. And I'm not sure that many engineers do test their code. But this is something that you can very easily do. And I would recommend you, here you go, it's asking me to move my file over to this folder, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to document all of it. I'm going to put it on GitHub. I can put a test, and I can even trigger a GitHub action to test it systematically. So that is like something that may not be, approachable for you without AI. And those are the things that I like to show as well.
Yeah. I have one maybe redundant question. The prompts that we're putting into the terminal, right, are they also being stored in the README file?
Aha! Let me show you a trick.
Maybe you have checkpoints. Maybe checkpoints make sense here.
So here, yeah, it's some of the questions that I'm getting is here. Let's just look at this one here. So, oopsie. So we have a nice README now. We'll add a license to it, like an MIT license. What I want to do is also add this here as an app, thermal. That's the name of the app. I'm going to move it to an image folder. This one I'm going to rename it to thermal, and I'm going to put it inside of an image folder. I'll do the same and clean everything up so that you have a nice repo that you can take away with you at the end of this. I'm going to keep this. And now what I want to do is add a folder called chats. And inside of this here, what I'll do is I'm going to go and export my chat. So you can go and export the chat, as you can see here. So it's going to be storing it as a JSON file. I'm going to put it over here and call this one chat thermal. And this way I'll push it inside of the repo. And I have a little tool inside of one of my GitHub repos that enables to render the chat in HTML. So it's kind of like a nice way for people to just go back and look at what's happening here, try to learn from it. experiment and maybe share their own prompts, share their own chats if they want to do the same. I feel like it's a kind of nice best practice to do. So I'm going to go and do that. MCP series, public repo. And I'm not going to include the VS Code folder because it's with my configuration for my local MCP for the workspace. So you don't need that. And here you go. You get yourself a repo. And I can add also, maybe after we're done here, the rest of the chats here. You can see it's a JSON file, so you can see my prompts over here. So it's a little like, yeah, create a README and organize the repo with different folders for each app. It's actually not the right chat that I wanted to store. I think I should call this one chat README. So that's like a nice best practice for you to do. Now, how about we implement a quick test for my linear regression, for instance?
Yeah, let's go. By the way, will it keep populating the JSON the more prompts you put into the chat there?
So here I have a different chat that I can go back to, this one, and I need to export it each time. So here I'm going to export this one. That's the chat. That's actually the one that is about the thermal app. Up. New chat. Oh, and I misspelled it. Okay, perfect. So you can do it like this, and then there's a whole bunch of very nice things you can do on GitHub if you want to document. So one example, I'm going to show you a few tricks relevant to MATLAB in particular. You have a repo here that is full of prompts on the MATLAB organization. You have one called prompts. And this one is amazing. Like, this is from my colleague Hans. You know Hans. He's pretty great with those things. And here he has a bunch of things about programming, app building. So you can say, hey, just go and get this prompt from creating programmatic app. So here it gives you a whole bunch of tips and tricks. It's really great. So if you don't have inspiration, you go and look at this scientific calculator, parameter tuning app, data analysis app. Like, you have a whole bunch of examples. So the one that I want to show you here is, I'm going to do one with live script documentation. And what I want to do is, well, you know what? I'm going to do an advanced maneuver. I can simply copy paste this, but what I can also do is I can take this here, add it to the context and say, look up github.com/matlab/prompts, because that's the only thing that I want to remember, right? There are prompts on the github.com for MATLAB, and create or generate a plain text live script from this file. And it's going to go, and you'll see that it's going to look up the repo. It's going to find the right prompt. I could just give him the right prompt, but I don't want to remember any of it. So it's just going to be searching, looking it up, okay, on GitHub. And now he found the prompt for generating plain text live script. So now it knows Kung Fu. Well, I mean, next best thing after Kung Fu. That is creating a plain text live script. And that is something you might not know of. We have now the capabilities as of 25A to do live scripts in a .m plain text format, which is amazing for source control. So that's why I want to be pushing it to GitHub, so you can see, oh, look, it's a live script. So if I open this one here, let's see, linear regression. It opens as a live script.
Pretty cool.
Pretty neat. And now you can run it. So I'm just going to run the whole thing. Just going to keep it over here. It's going to add all of the nice figures to it. And now what I want to do is, sorry, not this. I want to export oops, ls linear regression. Okay, I want to export this linear regression / linear regression dot up into a README for this folder. So readme.md. So it's a little trick for documenting your code. You create live scripts and then you export them as Markdown. You can also do it over here. I'm not clicking on anything anymore. I'm just prompting or I'm just typing. So here you can say live editor export as Markdown. Okay, or Jupyter Notebook, that's another format that is kind of nice. So now you have yourself here a nice README. And so if you look at this one here, close this, I'm going to just do that. Now you have yourself a nice README. Ta-da! Pretty neat, isn't it?
Really cool. Yeah, nice.
So I'm going to add also this. Again,
this makes people so much more productive, which is insane.
It's pretty cool. It's gaining me so much time. Chats, and this one is live scripts. So here you go. You have all of my tricks. I'm going to push them all over here. I don't even want to know what the commit is. I'm just going to let refactor code structure for improved readability. It's always giving me that. I don't kind of like that. Add live scripts and export to Markdown. Here you go. Any other questions?
No, I think everyone's pretty happy.
Maybe we'll keep. I was teasing about like testing. I feel like we could have a whole session about testing, and there's a colleague of mine that is probably a little better than me at testing. So if you order, we can keep it as a nice topic for another session.
Yeah, we could do that. Let me have a look at the questions. I think nothing. Maybe one. Somebody said there is no way to interact with MATLAB's Copilot programmatically. It's all interface stuff. Maybe you can respond to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what it means. So here, the MATLAB Copilot is something that is inside of MATLAB. So let me just prompt it. Maybe I need to start another session of MATLAB. Do I have it somewhere over here? Yeah, maybe this one over here. So let me start with this MATLAB clear CLC. Okay. So here, if I turn on Copilot on my machine, here we go. You're going to see here that there is a Control-Shift-P to use MATLAB Copilot. There is also here, if I more prompt, there is a Copilot chat on the right-hand side. So that's the UI for Copilot. And you cannot call it from an API. But what you can do, and it's another offering that is kind of nice as well. Let me share this one with you, and maybe we'll part ways around this MATLAB Deep Learning LLMs with MATLAB. And so I think that's what you want. If you want to be here doing something around AI programmatically through an API, you don't want Copilot. That's not quite what you want. What you want is this repo that enables you to connect to an LLM, either locally with Ollama. So I can show you that maybe in a minute. Ollama. And if you have Ollama on your machine, then you can simply go and LLMs with MATLAB. So you download this repo on your machine, and once you are inside of the repo, what you can do here is chat equal. Oh, well, first you're gonna add everything to the path. Gen path. PWD. Nope, not PZD. You can see that Copilot is complaining to me. So add path. So I'm inside of this repo. I have everything over here, and there is a function called Programmatic, and I'm gonna say model. I don't know which model I can use. Model. Oh yeah, this one. Gonna use this one. Okay. So I'm gonna connect to a local LLM, and now I can say something like chat generate create a linear regression in MATLAB. So it's not going to be an amazing answer because it's a 1 billion parameter model that is local to my machine. You can also bring your own key and connect to OpenAI, and that's essentially what enables you to do the thing that this person was asking, is programmatically interfacing large language models. So that's this repo.
Really cool, Jan. Thanks a lot. I think I've learned more in this session than a couple of semesters in uni, which is good. So I'm going to be much more proactive now using MATLAB. There's one question, I think, which is very interesting as well for developers. So Jose is asking, I'd love if there were a few words for developers looking to play with it. Like, are there ways to extend it and build on top of it? Or is it primarily thought for end users only?
So I guess here the question is about the MATLAB MCP Core Server. You have a few of those options where you can build on top of it as a developer. This one, for instance, the LLMs with MATLAB, this is an open repo in MATLAB code directly. So you can take it, it's open source. It has an MIT license, so you can modify it as much as you want. And the other one, the MATLAB MCP Core Server, is written in Go. So you can also, it's also open source, and you can also modify it if you go back to the repo. But it's Go lang, so you might want to, have a Copilot helping you with that. You can also extend it if you want, because this is also open source, and this one is BSD. It's actually BSD. So both of those options can be extended, yeah.
Maybe one last question that we
my
take.
Olama is kind of like struggling still to give me yeah.
One last question that we can wrap it up, Jan. Really exciting session, super cool. From Dagmar, she's saying, we've been using Zen MCP to use Claude to call the Gemini API. I was hoping MATLAB MCP and Claude could call MATLAB's Copilot for cheap review and save Claude tokens. Good comment.
So I don't think it's doable, unfortunately. And I'm ending on a bad note because, as you can see, my Olama is not collaborating. So I'm just gonna ask it to say hello and bye bye. Because yeah, I unfortunately I'd say hello bye bye. I'm not sure that I was able to answer the question from Dagmar. I don't think it's actually doable. I'm sorry.
We can maybe follow up. I mean, you can see the comment later on under the event.
I'm not sure what other options I could offer for that today. So maybe we can follow up.
Yeah, sure. Jan, first of all, thank you very, very much. I think we're a little bit over 1 hour, so a little bit more time than we anticipated. So really good stuff. Obviously, there will be a lot more to come, especially on engineering use cases and stuff that we could potentially do in the future with Simulink. Jan, last words come from you. Any feedback, maybe tips and tricks for people?
Thank you, Jousef. I'm very happy that you responded so quickly to engaging with us on that topic. That's something that is very near and dear to my heart. I honestly, and okay, this is going to sound quite marketing, but it's honestly the best experience I've ever had with MATLAB and with scientific computing for the past 10 years. So I would really recommend people to try it out because it's really exciting.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll put all the relevant links once we've put it on YouTube as an on-demand version of for the deep dive under the video, so people can check out all the links. And we'll keep populating. I think I've posted also some links in the chat, so people can check this out. Again, Jan, thank you very much. We'll wrap it up for today. And if people have any more questions, they can reach out to you via LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day and have a good weekend.